Hi everyone, it's Michelle again, and that is pronounced with the J. The J is not silent like a jalapeno pepper like many people think it is, and it's not Michelle or Magellan or Michael. It's not anything close to Michael actually. So today I wanted to inform you about the 5 of my most favorite or most interesting, whatever you want to call it, monsters from the Monster Book of Monsters. But is not actually a book. It is actually some list I found ages and ages and ages ago on Tumblr of an extensive bunch of monsters. They range from like hybrid monsters, from Chinese folklore, from Greek myths, and I want to share to you the ones that I kind of found most interesting. I'll probably even make a part 2 because this list is so extensive, and then I could go on and on and on about the coolest ones and all the things I learned. But I'm going to share this link with you just for a warning. Read it with your lights on, read it with your cat beside you. It gets creepy, they are monsters, it gets really scary. Also, if you haven't noticed, my voice is kind of gone. We're just going to pretend that I have like a raspy, kind of cute singing voice. I don't know. It's a result of a cold, not from late nights of partying or anything mildly interesting. It's just human nature. The first monster I wanted to talk to you about is Cecilia. I believe that's how you say it. It could pronounce really weird. I'll write it down so that you can correct me otherwise. But anyways, she is a half human, half octopus. And I say she, but she can also be a guy too. I'm not going to gender neutralize her. Finding anything on her was actually really hard, even though it was such an extensive list. There was just not really much. I actually ended up going through different websites looking for her, and she's actually like a pretty small myth, which is weird because if you are thinking what I'm thinking, she is also Ursula from The Little Mermaid, and because of that I think that a lot of people would try to research her and realize that she's not, I don't know, she's not a common thing that you would think of, octopus mermaid thing. So I did happen to not even come across her origins. I know that she's in Japanese movies of a sort a lot. Now also, if you haven't noticed, she's my absolute favorite monster and has been following me around for years in my painting. If you know my blog, you can obviously relate her to me. She was on my wall before I moved, and she's in my most recent painting, which I'm not done yet. Ooh. So if you do want to do more research on her, I'll post the link that I did find of her in the bottom just so that you can kind of see more, try to find more where she comes from. I mean, my list was made at 12 in the morning, 12 at night, whatever you want to call it. And it was very dark and scary, and I did not want to research her fully because it could have got to some creepy places. You never know. This is a horrifying world. My second monster from the list that I came across is from Greek mythology, which I am also obsessed with. The monster I'm thinking of has 3 heads, which is very useful, but is also not useful at the same time. If you know what I'm thinking, it is Cerberus, the monster that guards the underworld. He is a dog, but he's also depicted with a mane of snakes, a snake tail, and lion's claws. Not that dog's claws aren't good enough. Most renditions, they're usually different. Sometimes he has like 2 heads, sometimes he has 100, sometimes he doesn't have any like snake things at all. He is just a normal cute puppy with a bunch of heads. I don't know, he's everything he wants to be and more. He is most famous for the labors of Hercules. It was the 12th labor and the most hardest one because Hercules was cursed by Hera and he had to kill his children, and then that's what he had to do to make up for killing his own children, was kill Cerberus. But also he's pretty good at guarding the Philosopher's Stone if you don't like play music for it. The next one I'll talk to you about is fairies, and if you don't know what a fairy is, and apparently I didn't either, they're just a humanoid creature with magic powers. Me. But in like what you see now, like Tinkerbell, we've made them into these small things that can fly and are really cute. So a lot of people used to think that fairies were minor goddesses that were driven out from the Catholic Church and had to like live among humans, and their powers waned because of that, and that is the origins of fairies. That's one of the origins, I mean, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I thought that was really interesting, because Christianity and everything like targeting people in their past history, I had no idea I had to actually do or could do with the fact of fairies and monsters and other things like that. This next one actually derives from a real story. I forget the animal's name, but they ended up finding these bones of an animal and never knowing about it. It was in like 1992 or something, and they put so much research into finding this little deer animal that they could not put their nose on, could not see anywhere else, and someone ended up capturing a picture of it by having like a trap going on, and then they find out that it's real, and they know it's like a super extinct animal. It's like probably 20 left in the world, I don't know, something like that. So this myth or this creature is derived from that. I'll find the name of that because it is a very interesting animal and a very interesting read. Yeah, the monster that is derived from that is a gilled antelope, and they think it might be real because there's some sightings in Cambodia, and it's not impossible. I mean, obviously the other, you know, kind of deer creature was real. Why can't this gilled antelope be real as well? So it's an underwater deer, and it could also be in an antelope form, and it would be found around, well, obviously Cambodia. It could be real, so if it is, I will watch this video 10 years time and be like, cool. And my fifth and final creature I will talk to you about is in Norse mythology. It is the Valkyrie, and it is one of the female hosts that choose whether who lives in a battle and who dies in a battle. So whenever this first started out, it was really like, no one really liked them because you didn't know if you were going to live or die, and so they were depicted as gruesome creatures and not exactly in a nice light. And then finally they came out with mythology that half of the people that they choose to live and half the people they choose to die will go into different afterlives in which they'll be, you know, have a really good life. So, I mean, if you die in war, obviously it's going to be like a hero sort of death. And so Valkyries were often depicted later on as like lovers of heroes and as like royalty's daughters and everything like that. They're often associated with like swans and ravens. It really depends on the artist depicting. And that is my final monster. I really hope you guys read this list. I hope you spend hours and hours pouring into it because it's actually a very interesting thing. I hope you write a book using it with its help because it's probably what it was there for in the first place. I want you to comment below telling me which of the creatures I mentioned is your favorite, which creature maybe from the list is cool and interesting, and anything else that you want to tell me, just comment it in the bottom. So I hope you have a magnificent day or night or whatever it is when you're watching this, wherever you are, and I hope that it isn't as gloomy as it is here, or I maybe hope it is, because gloominess also means you can stay inside and read a book. So thank you for watching. Yeah.